He is the most famous character in the Street Fighter universe. Ryu has been an extraordinary warrior, with an unstoppable quest to be the best in every battle. Ryu has faced many changes during his life, some for the worst and some for the best. In this episode, we will cover the many versions of Ryu, from his beginnings to his bizarre evolutions, dangerous encounters, and more. Without further ado, let me welcome you to the Street Fighterverse. Let's start with the basic original form of Ryu. Ryu is a silent, humble, submissive, self-deprecating, and respectful individual, which is often in contrast against the light-hearted, fiery persona of his childhood friend, Ken. Dedicated to mastering his martial art, he travels the world and trains diligently. As a warrior, Ryu simply moves on once he has achieved success, without delay to his next challenge. Because of this wandering warrior persona, and also being trained far away from modern-day culture, Ryu often appears detached to others. Ryu's fighting style is generally referred to as Shotokan, despite the relative lack of resemblance to the real-life martial art. His normal attacks, however, seem to resemble the martial art somewhat, especially with some aspects of Hapkido, via the in-depth names of his normals in most Japanese sources. His take on the unnamed Ansatsuken style, added with his own take on Shotokan, focuses on powerful singular strikes that usually knock the foe down. Ryu's standard special attacks are the Hadouken, generally referred to as the Fireball, the Shoryuken or Dragon Punch, and the Satsumaki Seppunkyaku or Hurricane Kick. There is, however, a dark side to Ryu, his drive to improve himself, no matter the difficulty, developing into a drive to win and to be the best at any cost. This darker drive is fed by, and in turn feeds, the Satsui no Hado within his soul, an influence which Ryu must constantly fight to suppress from killing. Evil Ryu is Ryu's pre-sentient form. Initially, he appeared as a palette swap of Ryu, wearing a black or dark purple gi. The Alpha series also gives him a black headband. His skin and hair also featured a slightly darker shade. From the SNK vs Capcom series onward, his eyes have been depicted with red irises, although some games have his eyes glow entirely red. Like Akuma, Evil Ryu has a signature kanji that appears when he performs the Raging Demon. In Street Fighter Alpha 3 and Capcom vs SNK 2, the kanji is Destruction, though it only appears in his endings and super combo finishes. Most notable of all is a gaping hole burned into his chest, with a similar scar on his back, that bears a glowing heaven kanji. The scar resembles the effects of being hit up close with Oni's Meido Gohado, and could also be a reference to a scene in the Ryu final manga, in which Akuma punches through Ryu's chest in their final battle and almost defeats him. In Ryu's guest appearance in Asura's Wrath, it is Asura who gives him the scar after launching him into the moon from Earth and attempting to impale him with his fist. The scar disappears after he returns to normal. It's hard for Evil Ryu not to be cold and conceited due to his obsession with fighting, in order to prove he is the best. He is a demonic and murderous creature. While his anger is not mindless, he has lost all traces of his former honorable self and demonstrates sociopathic traits even more than M. Bison. Evil Ryu's moves combines elements of the original Ryu and Akuma, such as Ryu's simplistic and slightly slow inputs, with Akuma's strong combo and power potential, which generally leans slightly towards the former, due to the presence of his unique normal attacks, though he also has the latter's Ashura Senku. Among his super combos, the Shungoku Satsu is naturally identical to Akuma's. In the advent of Ryu overcoming the temptations of the Satsui no Hado dwelling within him, it was assumed that the persona of Evil Ryu had been vanquished, yet astonishingly, the Satsui no Hado would develop sentience and came to manifest as its own, entirely separate physical entity, naming itself Kage. Kage's physical appearance is very similar to Ryu's, both seeming to stand at the same height, although Kage appears to have a somewhat higher degree of musculature, as well as a considerably darker skin tone. In addition to this, Kage's irises are red and luminescent, while his sclerae are jet black, and the eyes are permanently encircled by a dark ring. For clothing, Kage wears a dark blue gi with the top ripped off and left hanging around the legs, leaving his upper half completely bare, aside from his red headband, which now hangs loosely around his neck. Kage's hair retains the color of Ryu's, but it is longer and spikier. He has a pair of small horns that glow purple, protruding from. Kage has a prominent underbite, and his lower canines are greatly elongated to form sharp tusks. Some parts of Kage's body bear open holes revealing purple Satsui no Hado energy within his body. He wears gloves identical to Ryu's, though a darker shade of red. Much like evil Ryu, Kage is sadistic, wrathful, usually threatening those he faces. Unlike him, however, Kage is also cocky, believing to be the embodiment of power, which would be the very reason he would be the strongest part of his former host. However, Kage is well aware that he apparently needs a host in order to not fade away and is visibly distressed and fearful at seeing Ryu not affected by his influence. Kage's fighting style is a derivative of the Ansatsuken style practiced by several other Street Fighter characters. His critical art is the Metsu Shoryuken, which has a similar impact to Ryu's Ultra Combo. The Shungokusatsu appears similar to Akuma's in that it takes the form of a series of high-speed punches delivered from every angle that fades into a crimson red. Kage's version of the move produces 30 hits and, unlike Akuma's, can be connected in a combo. Shin Ryu. In the Udon comic book series, Street Fighter Unlimited, Ryu finally attained complete control over the Satsui no Hado by entering a state he calls Shin Ryu, meaning true in Japanese. This state allows Ryu to safely harness the Dark Hado by merging it with the power of nothingness, bringing balance to his light and dark chi. As Shin Ryu, he was able to finally defeat Akuma. Ryu's appearance in this form is mostly the same. The only noticeable changes are to his left eye, which glows red, as well as the occasional flare of a red and blue aura. So which is your favorite version of Ryu? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on new theories and info. Thank you for watching. This has been your Street Fighter host. Welcome to the center stage. Our new Discord server. There you can talk with us, chat about current events going on in Street Fighter, information, theories, and lore. We'll leave the link in the description box below. We want to thank everyone for tuning in and becoming part of this Street Fighter community. We want to thank you for your positive comments towards our channel because it only habilitates us to grow even more. From the Street Fighterverse crew, we thank you.